Good morning and welcome to the NASDAQ share overview with me, Warren Peacock. Just starting here with our current open positions. So you can see the portfolio: Apple, Google, AMD, IBM, Intel and Meta. Meta doing quite well at the moment. Their results were excellent. Intel's results weren't great, but the outlook for the future is pretty good. So their shares looking pretty solid at the moment. We have closed out a few trades, so we had two high-risk trades there, Roblox and Western Digital. They stopped out, and then we've just had a stop on AMAT, Applied Materials and Qualcomm. So let's go and have a look at the watch list now. I think there's a few orders coming up. So we just start with Apple, and Apple just continuing to push higher, breaking out of that 61% retracement, pushing through 78 and heading towards that 89 level now. So Apple next entry, more than likely a close above the one there, so it's the 100% mark, just above 176.54. So at this point, just watching now for the stop, which I'm going to trail up to that level there, just 160. So close below that, and a break of that low. So just going to change that to a stop. There we go. Okay. Alright, so for now, Apple looking pretty solid. Trend is strong, medium term and long term is up. Next resistance level just at that 89% area, 170.88 or so. Otherwise at the ultimate high. Right, the next share is Applied Materials, and we've just got that little double top playing out. The stop loss was triggered, we exited the trade, and now I'm just waiting for the next buy signal. Kind of watching, there's a few levels here, so you can see these lines all very close together, and it just shows us that the range is very narrow. So any trade made within that range is considered a medium risk trade on probabilities. What I'm looking for is a proper signal down on support. You can just see my little green line there, so down at 102. 102.43 or so. That's my preferred buy level on the downside. If it breaks through that, then the zero comes into play there at around 94. On the breakout, I'm only really interested on a close above 125.29. So Applied Materials just waiting for that consolidation to break. Next one, AMD, Advanced Micro Devices. They've come off quite strongly, heading down to that 62% retracement area just above 85, and finding some support there, little hammer formation, looking pretty good for a bounce at this point. I am watching for the 8 to close above the 21 EMAs there, to put in the next order on a resistance basis above that 89% level at around 99.20 or so. Otherwise through the highs at 104.67, and I'm quite happy to watch AMD at this point. It did close above previous resistance there, 88.66. So I might just trail my order entry a little bit lower and look for that close above the 79% area. Stop loss for that trade will be more than likely down at the swing low. The current stop loss is down at that swing low, and that is at around 76. So looking to add in now into that longer term uptrend. Cisco is not part of my official watch list, so there's Google, and you can see Google in that distribution zone holding pretty steady there between 108 and the low of that zone 103.15, and just kind of sitting quietly there. I do have an order entry in for the breakout. At this point, that level is 108.35. My buy stop is at 108.90. Stop loss for that trade, if it does trigger anytime soon, it will be just below the 100 there. There is a position open from 94 down at the lows here, and that stop loss is still down at the swing low, or even down at the ultimate low. So for now, I am looking for the break on the upside to add into that current trade. So 108.29 and my order at 108.96. And then IBM was looking so good at the end of last year. and then just sold off into this year. Their results were not bad, but IBM has got a history of swinging all over the place. So what I'm looking for in IBM is a long-term position, so longer than holding it for 6 or 12 months. I'm looking for something 5 to 10 years from now. And there's the long-term chart of IBM, and we can just see it's really trying to build a base now, just above that 110, between 110 and 150, and just vibrating around there at the moment on the weekly chart. My buy levels, well, we saw them now. Let's just quickly have a look. So IBM in at 122, and now just holding. Next breakout level, more than likely all the way up there at 155. So for now, I'm not going to chase it there. If you don't have any positions open on IBM yet, then this 126 to 122 is quite viable at this point. Shorter term entry just on the break of that little shelf there, 132.74. And if we go down to a daily, we'll just see that little base forming quite nicely at the moment. Then we've got Intel, and let's just change that to a daily chart. So Intel also had a strong consolidation there from October to Feb, March, and then broke through just the beginning of April, end of March there. Retraced nicely down to that 62% level, and now pushing again, trying to, just not managing to hold above that resistance zone there at 3150. So on Friday, big gap up at the open, and then closing back in the distribution zone. So at this point, not chasing it. I've got that position open there, waiting for some sort of clarity, a clear trading signal going forward, or some form of consolidation or something, maybe a chart pattern or something like that. But for now, just watching Intel. The original trade doing quite nicely at the moment, so no need to rush the next entry. Then Juniper Networks has broken below my lows. Their results were horrendous. So I'm looking for an exit there, or an add if it does break back above the 100% mark there at 30.33. That could trigger me to add into that trade, averaging down a little bit. I do think that tech stocks are just going to continue their long-term trends to the upside. So always looking for entries. And then Meta, of course, blowing the market away last week. Their results were spectacular, and we've got the two continuation gaps right through the 50% of that long-term retracement. So there we have the price from the high to the current low, and Meta just blowing that away. Adding into that is proving difficult. It's one of those things where you either just take the chance where there's no technical trade, or you just have a look at the levels. So closing above that 50% retracement area to the upside there. I'm going to have a look this afternoon and just see if price does break through Thursday's high there. So let's just get that price. The high 241.68. So if it gets through that, I might just take an at market trade, or put an order in on an hourly chart. So for now, the stop loss for Meta is still way down there below 90. Let's just get that price again, but it's below 90, so 87.65 or so. It's probably time for me to trail that up. I'll have a look at it through the week and just see what price action does. So Meta looking to add in above that 241 level, and looking to trail the stop. Microsoft, same sort of story. Obviously, ChatGPT pushing through there. Their results were pretty good, breaking through the 161 extension, so the little price flip down there, and it has broken through that longer-term price resistance 296, and just hitting that 200% extension for now. So again, Microsoft looking pretty solid, trade looking good, trailing the stops. I haven't picked a level yet. Adding into this is also proving difficult, so just waiting now to see whether we get a decent trade sometime in the future. For that to happen, it would need to come off a little bit or consolidate or something like that and give me a proper price level. If it does retrace, my area of interest is around that 276.70 level. and just going to put a little green line in there so that I remember to speak about it next time. And let's just put that in there. All right. Okay, so just watching that now. If it does retrace to that area, basically closing that gap. If that happens, I can have a look at another trade. All right, then Micron. Micron also big consolidation, and we're just sitting near the top of the range there, closing Friday at 64.36, and resistance ultimately at 65.26, that area. But I am looking for a close above 64.51 for my next entry. So I'm just going to put a little green line across there, and I'm going to look for a close above that and break that high to add into the Micron trade that I have currently. The stop loss level, I don't really like having stops in general, but for for newer traders, something like that, you're going to need stops. If you size properly, then stop losses are irrelevant. But 48.69 ultimate stop loss, and for now that's looking pretty solid for the breakout. And Nvidia, the one that got away. So I'm totally missed Nvidia. It just kept on going. There was no retracement. The breakouts were very messy. As you can see, price up and down, pulling back, retracing, then breaking up again. It was just a bit messy, so I haven't got a position there. At the end of the day, Nvidia to me is only going to have value at around 190. Their PE I think is up there at 100. That's just way too high for me. Even technical trading in the technicals only is just too high risk at this point. Then we've got Qualcomm. So Qualcomm, it really had a good go at the breakout there. Nice continuation gap, and then just failing to hold on to those gains. Dropped through, triggered the stop, and I'm just waiting to see whether this double bottom holds. 8 up through 21. I'll look at that entry, closing above the 61.8 there at 117.17 or so. I can have a look at that. Otherwise, the distribution zone up at 128.14. I do prefer to buy at the lower levels, so I'll just be watching out to see whether Qualcomm does actually go and close just above that 61.8 there at 117.42. And then Roblox. Look, Roblox is always a high risk trade. They're not profitable. They're not making money, but they're a big participant in the metaverse. And I expect something from them going forward. So I had that trade in there, got stopped out. I'm waiting for my next entry. Preferred price down at 28. So if we get down to 28, I'm quite keen to have another go at Roblox. If it breaks that, then obviously this 25-30 area becomes quite important. There's no rush. Even if the share technically breaks resistance there until their fundamentals catch up, I don't expect it to move too quickly, but it is one of those high-risk stocks in the portfolio. And then Tesla, of course, everyone shared to love and hate. Had a really good breakout at the beginning of the year and has since retraced with a nice ABC retracement, finding support at my preferred buy level there, 155.30. So I am looking today. I'm going to probably have a look and see how it opens. Can either look at it on a move through Friday's high at 165.10 or through that 38% level. That's around 174.24. So again, there's no need to rush here. Their results weren't great. They're still in a P of 48, so there's no need for me to rush the trade. Then we've got Taiwan Semiconductors. Again, that share bounced pretty solidly off the lows at around 60 and pushed through quite strongly. My preferred buy is around 73. It hasn't gotten that low in a while, so just patiently waiting for that. If something changes and it starts to push back through that 38, I can have a look at a later entry on the breakout there. Fundamentally, still cheap at 13, so PE of 13. So it still, to me, still has value going forward. And semiconductors obviously form the basis of anything in the tech world. Verizon, not really interested in that. So we've got Western Digital, the other high risk trade. Storage, memory, that kind of stuff. Western Digital selling off quite strongly after the January run there. Solidly up to that 45 and then just basically collapsed from there. It triggered my stop loss, and of course it just bounced a few days later. So closing at 34.44 on Friday. I'm waiting for a technical trade on that. I didn't catch it yet at 32.45, and just waiting now to see what happens going forward. Alright, thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, you're welcome to pop it in the comments box. Ciao.